Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about all the key pointers that you must have on your fingertips if you want to perform well in almost any question with respect to P3 trigonometry. And as you must know from your AS level, trigonometry is one topic which requires a lot of practice so that you find it comfortable by the time the examination comes up. So that is why this line is written over here. The more you solve, the less it is. It means that you should always keep up with the practice, never quit. At least one question per day is something that I ask you to target. If you can keep up with this pace after, let's say, you have understood everything, I pretty much think that you can solve any kind of trigonometric question in your examination, no matter how difficult it may be. But yes, let us look into the first key pointer. So the first thing is you need to remember all the formula on your fingertips. Let it be the Pythagorean identities. Pythagorean identities are which identities? Let me show it to you. These are your Pythagorean identities. You should know how to derive them. If you know how to derive them, you don't need to remember it. You can derive it on the spot. For example, let's say, how do I get this formula? This one. So both of the formulas, this and this, is derived using this formula. So if I divide this with cos square, if I divide this with cos square, if I divide this with cos square, what will I get? I'll get this equation. Or let's say if I divide everything by sine square, sine square, sine square, all the three terms, what will I get? I'll get this term. So yeah, it's important that you are able to derive any kind of formula on the spot so that it's easier for you to keep them in your mind. The more you practice deriving these formulas, the better they will stick in your head. Now, what is the reason that you should be remembering all the formula on your fingertips, even though MF19 is already given to you? The reason behind this is, if you look at the question, the connection between the current step and how can you proceed to the next step so that you are one step closer to this one, that connection comes to you naturally if you are having all this kind of formula on your fingertips. Moving on to the next point, you must know all the tricks to prove trigonometric identities from your ES level. What are the tricks? You should know that a plus b, a minus b is very useful for the trigonometry proving part, which is same as writing a square minus b square. Whenever you are having two different terms and you want to combine it into one single term, you know that you need to make common denominator. And if at all there is something in the fraction which you think you can't manipulate it into the format that you want on the right hand side or maybe on the left hand side, in that case, you can multiply and divide by the same thing to bring the format that is closer to what you want on the final proof. So if you're aware about all these tricks from your AS level and the formula that you have learned in your A2 level and a little bit of luck, because I know that sometimes even after a lot of practice, if you are running out of luck, things might not click. So yeah, with all these things, you will be able to solve any kind of trigonometry proving identity questions. Okay, proving identities is mostly like puzzles. You are having a starting point, you know what is the ending point. You just have to think about what are the steps that you have learned in your AS level, utilize all those steps and the formula from your A2 level to get to that final step. So yeah, this is one thing that I am really talking about, that you practice each and every day at least one question so that by the time of examination, you are pretty good. Now you should also be aware about the ASTC rule from your AS level, that if your sine, cos, tan, or also for your A2 level, it could be, let's say, cosec, sec, cot. If whatever trigonometry ratio is given to you, you should know you are in which quadrant. And then from that quadrant, depending on the domain, are you going in the clockwise direction, anti-clockwise direction, and by how much amount of times you're going to revolve around the ASTC diagram. If you're aware about all these kind of things, then solving for theta becomes very easy. And then moving on to the next point that you must have on your fingertip is to understand that how you can convert an equation that is looking something like this into its harmonic identity format. What is the harmonic identity format? Let's say if this is the equation, you convert this into r cos x plus alpha, or maybe r sine x minus alpha, etc. format. So how do you find the value of r and alpha? You should have this on your fingertips. R is found with the help of square root of a square plus b square. This is the formula for your R, and alpha is always tan inverse of the magnitude of B over A. Even though let's say if one of the value is negative or positive, you always take the magnitude, divide B by A and get the value of alpha. So if you're aware about this kind of techniques, that is what I was talking about for the harmonic identity. You should have this on your fingertips. The next pointer is, how do you find the minimum or the maximum value using the harmonic format? So if I show you a question similar to that, if I can, yeah, over here. So if you are having this kind of a format in part 1, you have already expressed your 5 sin x minus 3 cos x in its harmonic format. And now you're supposed to find what is the greatest and the least possible value out of this. So the concept that you must have in your mind is that what is the minimum and the maximum value of either the sine or the cos, or maybe sine square or cos square. In this case, you are looking for r square sine square x minus alpha. I know that my sine square is always in between 0 to 1. So the maximum value will be r square into 1 and the minimum value has to be r square into 0. So of course I'll talk about this question later on, but this is an important key pointer that you must have on your fingertips with respect to trigonometry, that using the harmonic format, you should be able to find the minimum or maximum value without involving differentiation. Then comes the graphs. If you are following me from long time, you are aware about how particular I am about the graphs. Graphs should be on your fingertips. Being a mathematician or a mathematics student, you should always be able to visualize a problem, maybe through a graph or just drawing a scenario of what's going on. If you are able to do this, you are someone who deserves A star by default, because if you are able to visualize the situation, you will be able to find a way out of it. Okay, that if you are trapped in a particular situation, by using the graphs or the situation that you are able to visualize, you can come out of it. So you should be aware about the cosec x graph, sec x graph, cot x graph, and also the graphs from your AS level, sine, cos, and tan. And along with that, you should be aware about transformation of the function rules, so that you can go ahead and also plot cosec 2x, or maybe 2 sec 2x minus 1 or plus 1, etc. This kind of graphs also you can draw it comfortably. And usually you will see this kind of graphical questions are paired up in the numerical solutions. They'll ask you to draw either the graph of sec x, sec 2x, then they'll ask you a straight line or whatever other graph, and then ask you to prove that, okay, there is one point of intersection between the given domain. This kind of questions are where mostly the graphs are tested in P3. But yeah, regardless of that, you should be very well versed with this kind of graphs and remember your AS level graphs very, very well. And the last key pointer that you must have on your fingertip is the manipulations using the double angle formula to simplify or maybe convert it into the specific format that is demanded in the question. Always remember cos 2x has three different formulas. Okay, the first formula is cos square x minus sine square x. It connects your cos 2x with your cos square x also and sine square x also. Let's say if you want a connection of cos 2x with only sine square x, the formula is 1 minus 2 sine square x. And only cos square x relationship you're looking forward to, it is 2 cos square x minus 1. Now let's say if I want to manipulate this formula, let's say this formula, and I want to get cos 4x. How will I get cos 4x using this formula? I'll multiply my this 2x into 2. It also means that wherever the x is present, the angle is present, I'm going to double it at the same point. So utilizing this information, I can get cos 4x is equals to 1 minus 2 sine square 2x. Now you are aware about the formula of sine 2x, which is getting squared. So you can substitute the value of sine 2x, that is 2 sine x cos x, and then square it to simplify it further. And then maybe utilize this cos 4x in your equation somewhere. Also, you should be aware about the sine 2x formula very well. It is 2 sine x cos x. Now, whenever you are seeing this kind of information, you should know that this is nothing but your sine 2x. Okay. So if you want to learn the manipulations and if you are not yet mastered it, then it's a good time that you go ahead and look into the upcoming questions that I'm going to solve in this playlist, so that you are comfortable with at least some of them, if not all, because of course this requires a lot of practice. And that is why I was saying daily one question is going to be enough for you to master it in such a way that before the examination you will be completely ready. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video where I'll start solving the common questions and then look into some of the uncommon type of questions also. So yeah, I'll see you over there.